Okay, who said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. I will have an answer for you in 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Okay, you know where I'm going with this. Let's say you have an amazing story to tell, or a profound story, or a traumatic story, or some other kind of life-defining story. It's something that gnaws at you and you feel like life will be more bearable if only you can express this thing and get it out into the world. It's so fiery and alive in you, and everyone you tell it to agrees that you need to put it into writing.
People are asking to hear my voice.
And you try to. You really, really try. It's right there, burning inside you. It's so powerful that it seems like it should just write itself. And yet it doesn't. Somehow you get stuck. Somehow nothing you write does the thing justice. You can't find the right beats, can't get inside the profundity of the experience, can't come up with anything that feels remotely close to the vision in your mind. And so it's just there, inside you, festering away, tormenting you with its magnificent potential. Well, the first thing you should know is that you're not alone. This happens to a lot of us. The second thing to know, or at least to consider, is that you might have what I call the Jedi syndrome.
What?
The good thing about the Jedi syndrome is that once you see it, once you diagnose it, not only can you cure it, but you might be able to unlock your whole story. Because when you understand what the Jedi syndrome is, your story, no matter what genre or format, can finally take on the depth and complexity that your experience requires. So maybe you're like me and you grew up in another culture.
I just moved here from Africa.
Because of that, your stories tend to be about what it means to be yourself when you don't or have never fit in.
It is what it is.
Or maybe it's something else. Maybe you have a terrible tragedy in your past, a death or a separation of some kind. Or maybe, who knows, maybe you have an epic love story or a grand adventure to tell.
What to miss?
It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you have something burning inside you that you need to get out. Which, I mean, you're a writer, so of course you do. Okay, so here's the Jedi syndrome. The Jedi syndrome is what a character has when, at the start of the story, they have already absorbed some or all of the lessons, powers, or virtues that they will have acquired by the end of the story.
That doesn't make sense.
One more time, a little slower. The Jedi syndrome is what a character has when, at the start of a story, they have already absorbed some or all of the lessons, powers, or virtues that they will have acquired by the end of the story.
Okay, that makes sense.
So what I mean is that because the thing that happened to you is so fiery and so alive inside you, there's a high probability that your character at the start of your story is, at least a little bit, and maybe only subconsciously, already the character you know they will wind up as by the end of your story. Because in our fervor to document or dramatize a formative experience, there's an unintentional and subconscious tendency to conceive of our characters as having already experienced the thing, having already felt the feelings, having already learned the lessons. So if, like me, your story is about not belonging, you might be making the mistake, as I did for a very long time, of starting your story with a character who already feels like they don't belong. If your story is about, say, assault or abuse, you might be starting your story with a character who has already been deeply hurt. And if your story is about grief or tragedy, you might be starting your story with a character who, deep down, has already experienced tremendous loss. The result is that you get stuck and your narrative has nowhere to go. Why? Because, as I say a lot, narrative is fundamentally about transformation, not description. And just as a Jedi can't very well transform into a Jedi, a character who has already experienced tremendous loss can't very well transform into a character who has already experienced tremendous loss. Remember, we don't identify with Luke Skywalker because he's a Jedi. We identify with him because he is a humble farm boy. We don't identify with Harry Potter because he's a powerful wizard. We identify with him because he is a powerless orphan. Every book and every movie ends with someone or something that has transformed into someone or something new. It's because of this that I like the framework of writing as magic. It really hammers the centrality of transformation. And I'm convinced more and more that knowing where a story should begin deserves just as much attention and just as much consideration, if not more, as figuring out where a story should end. Because so many times, those of us who try to write our novel or our memoir or our screenplay forget that our character still needs to learn what we, their creator, have already learned.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me.
So what then? Well, if your character is afflicted with the Jedi syndrome, that is, if they are secretly a Jedi at the start of your story, you might need to introduce them as a farm boy. You get the point. You know where you want to end, and you know what you want to say. The solution then might be finding a starting point where your character is truly and blissfully unevolved and unenlightened as it relates to the transformation they are about to undergo. And when you do this, when you introduce a character that is truly and blissfully unaware of the journey that lies ahead, the task of telling the story of that journey becomes a lot easier. Okay, thank you for watching. Oh, the quote. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Who said it? It's from the Gospel of Thomas, one of the Gnostic scrolls discovered in Egypt in 1945.